It was July 27th, 2022 in Alaska. We had just arrived, and I got up early in the morning so I could sit at my favorite spot on the earth, at the lodge at Lake Clark, first looking to the northeast where the sun was just beginning to come up and cast a golden, beautiful color on the lodge and on everything I was looking at. And then I watched it gradually during the day go down again, where it finally began to set. The day never really ended because the dusk was succeeded by dawn. It's one of those long Alaskan days, but every part of the day is different. And I sit here at my favorite spot in the world, being able to look at it all. In fact, at 9 p.m., the daylight was so bright, and it wasn't even dusk yet, that Steve got out the big drone and flew it all over the lake, from one end to the other, over the lodge, over the spruce forest, towards the George Washington Mountain and back again, so that we had this incredible, infinite view of the wilderness, the world as it should be. And we had to ponder, what is it about being in the wilderness, away from pavement and away from cities and away from tall buildings, and actually 200 miles from the nearest road, up here in the Alaskan wilderness? What is it about this beauty that creates such excitement for us? Why would I want to just spend the one day of my life, if I had one day, in this spot? On August 2nd, 2022, we decided to, despite terrible weather, blowing wind and rain, just miserable, gray, empty-looking day, we decided to fly down to Katmai, to our favorite spot. And this is a spot where every year hundreds and hundreds of grizzly bears gather from all around the tundra, because this is where it's easy to catch salmon. It's relatively shallow, and it's not easy for the bear to catch these salmon until they get old and wither and are about to spawn and are slow and dying. So they have to find a spot which is relatively shallow. Now, we've all seen them, and we know they can catch them jumping up a waterfall, but it's much harder to catch them that way than right in this special spot of ours. And we endured the most amazing weather, and walking in the tundra is not like walking anywhere else. We walked in the tundra from a lake that we landed on all the way to our special spot at the creek where the bears would be. And it was like a 3-mile walk, but it felt like a 20-mile walk. But it was worth it when we finally got to our favorite spot. The bears looked healthy, and this was because that the early salmon run was not taken by the commercial fishermen. That was the early part, before Fish and Game saw this was a so-called record year. They allowed the salmon in, and so the bears from a week or two ago were plump and filled because they had a good salmon run. But now there were hardly any salmon. There were no viable salmon. There were just dying salmon, or salmon that were already dead, and the bear were just trying to go through this slim pickings. There wasn't very much to eat. They were just praying more salmon would come, but this more salmon did not come, because when Fish and Game realized it was a so-called record year, the salmon just were not allowed to escape anymore. Most of them were taken. And so right now, when we were there on August 2nd, the pickings were slim for the grizzly bear. They looked healthy, but they're not going to have enough fresh salmon to eat to really make it in October, November through hibernation. In addition to the usual frolicking over whatever salmon debris was left down on the river, when we went back up to the ridge over the river, we saw two incredible sights, one to the east and one to the west, relatively far away, but two big sibling bears, both to the left and to the right. that were fighting ferociously. Now, they weren't really fighting to kill each other. It looked that way. What they were doing was preparing for the fighting they're going to have to do when it comes springtime to try to get a sow. Because the only way they're going to be able to fulfill their testosterone urge for sex and to mate with a sow, the only way is to win in the battles with other boars, with other big male bears. The next day, we flew to the Copper River, and we floated down this Copper River, which was a visual sight. We saw bears that were hiding in the trees and somehow or other came invisibly out of nowhere just as we passed them. We saw many salmon that were actually scaring away the trout, so we couldn't even catch trout because the salmon scared them all back into Lake Iliamna. We were there at that particularly bad time for fishing, just a bad 2 weeks, when the salmon first come in and scare away the trout, and the salmon don't want to eat anything because they just want to die and spawn, and it'll take a couple of weeks before they begin to weaken and the trout come back in and the fishing gets good.
Nice job.
So it's just a matter of enjoying this bright red display of salmon swimming up the river as we were floating down, and the occasional grizzly bear that would pop out to catch his salmon and then pop back in. And there we were just negotiating this wilderness stream, and I at first was sad that I wasn't catching fish, but then I realized that it's not about catching fish, it's about beholding them. July 29th, we went to the mouth of the Kedrick River. Again, one of our most favorite spots in the whole world. And that mouth of the river is different every year. There was high water this year, and there were many little sloughs with absolutely no water movement. So the mirror images were spectacular of the mountains and the forest and of Steve's dog, Taco. And then you can see him upside down as a reflection in that slough that was right at the mouth of the Kedrick River where we wanted to fish.
By the way, I got a lot of
As I sit out on our incredible porch in our wilderness lodge, I notice how very long the Alaskan polar dusk is. Dusk just goes on and on so slowly, never willing to give in to nighttime. And that's kind of the way I feel I am. My dusk is spectacularly long, going very slowly and seemingly without end. Commercial fishing now for the salmon is so technologically advanced that if we allowed them to, the commercial fishermen could catch every single salmon trying to come into Bristol Bay. There wouldn't be a single salmon that could make its way up to spawn. It would be all over. It would be an Arctic desert. And yet, commercial fishermen are being allowed to take more and more salmon with less and less escapement. And you will see that when we were fishing with the bears, there really weren't many salmon anymore that were coming up because suddenly commercial fishermen were allowed to take everything.